Kangaroos are arguably the most popular animals from Australia. You know, the land of homicidal jellies, spiders big enough to pay rent, and lizards that could fold you before lunch. But there's another kind of kangaroo that probably looked at all that chaos and said, "Yep, I'm out," and literally moved upstairs. Introducing tree kangaroos, the cuter cousins of these walking muscle bags with pockets. They belong to the genus Dendrolagus, which literally means tree hair. But they're still part of the macropod family. You know, the same bloodline that produced the grassland Jim Bros and the discount kangaroos. If the kangaroo family had a reunion, you'd have the jacked desert ones flexing their hops, the wallabies awkwardly trying to fit in, and then the tree kangaroo in the corner like, "Yeah, I live 30 meters up." So, how did they end up in trees? Well, to be honest, the answer's still a bit fuzzy. Back when Australia and New Guinea were connected, about 5 to 7 million years ago, the continents were basically exchanging species like Pokemon cards. Some early kangaroo ancestors probably wandered into the rainforests up north. The earliest versions of them seemed a little indecisive. They had features suggesting they lived partly on the ground and partly in trees. Basically, they had commitment issues. Over time, the rainforest forced them to pick a side. The ground was steep, muddy, and full of roots, not exactly built for hopping. Imagine trying to sprint through that. You just faceplant into a log. So the ones that climbed a bit higher, reached fruit, and avoided predators survived. And since the treetops were full of food and had almost no competition, they went all in. That's how we ended up with tree kangaroos, the largest tree-dwelling mammals in Australia, and the only kangaroos that treat gravity like a suggestion. So, what upgrades did evolution give them for their new lifestyle? They grew longer arms, and their claws curved into perfect hooks for hanging onto trees. Basically, they traded cardio for calisthenics. Now they spend their whole lives doing pull-ups full-time. Their ankles can twist around 120 to 150 degrees, which honestly looks kind of cursed, but it lets them climb down trees head first like furry Spider-Men. Their tails, longer than their entire bodies, act as balancing poles and shock absorbers. They can jump down from up to 18 meters high, about 5 to 6 stories, and just walk it off like it's casual Tuesday gravity. They can also cover up to 9 meters between branches. That's basically leaping the length of a school bus while holding a leaf in their mouth. Their feet are wild too. The bottoms are covered in rough, padded soles. Think sandpaper or climbing shoes, so they don't slip when they're gripping vertical bark. They've got curved claws on both front and back feet, and their hind feet come with an extra weird feature. The second and third toes are fused together and used purely for grooming. Because apparently, even tree kangaroos come with a built-in spa day. So, what do they do in the treetop VIP lounge? Well, they sleep for about 60% of the day. They're living proof that you can nap your way to evolutionary success. When they do wake up, they spend most of their time eating leaves, fruits, and flowers, so they're eating almost everything they can find in the treetops. Their diet's low in energy, so they have to move slow just like koalas with mid-level activity. Every movement feels like they're buffering in real time. They're not exactly social, either. Each tree kangaroo minds its own tree, living solo most of the time. So yeah, they're introverts who nap a lot, live alone, and snack all day. Pretty relatable, honestly. They move through the canopy quietly, climbing with those absurd pull-up arms, sometimes taking massive leaps between branches, because apparently, even in slow motion, they still have main character energy. And when it rains, which it does a lot in their mountain forest, they just tuck their head between their arms and wait it out, looking like a damp plush toy questioning all its life choices. Their only real exercise comes from grabbing food, climbing, and occasionally escaping something that wants to eat them, which, considering they live 30 meters up, doesn't happen too often. There are 14 species of tree kangaroo, and every single one looks like a different colorway of the same base model. Goodfellow's tree kangaroo is basically the supermodel of the family. Bright reddish coat, golden limbs, and that ring-pattern tail that's unique to them. They're the ones you'll usually see in zoos, because, let's be honest, they're the photogenic ones. One Goodfellows even escaped a zoo in Australia once, wandered into a photo studio, and just chilled there until it got caught and brought back. Like, it literally went from captivity to career mode. Then there's the dingiso. Found high up in the cloud forest of Papua New Guinea, locals from the Moni tribe believe they're ancestral spirits, so they don't hunt them. And honestly, fair enough. They look like they're wearing a black and white hoodie, staring at you like they already know your search history. Australia's got two species of its own, Lumholtz and Bennett's tree kangaroos, living in the rainforests of far north Queensland. The Lumholtz is smaller, moody, and built like it's permanently unimpressed. The Bennett's is bulkier, basically a buff version that decided trees were safer than traffic. Because sadly, most of the ones in Australia don't go out fighting predators, they go out from car accidents. They survive the rainforest, the weather, and the heights just to get packed by a Toyota Corolla. The Wondiwoi tree kangaroo is like the Bigfoot of the family. The first and only one we ever saw was back in 1928, when a British zoologist shot one in the mountains of Papua New Guinea, because, of course, that's how science used to work. He sent the specimen to the London Natural History Museum, and then the species just vanished. Gone. MIA for almost 90 years. For decades, people thought it was extinct. Until 2018, when someone snapped a photo of a mystery kangaroo in the mountains, and boom, it turned out to be a Wondiwoi tree kangaroo. Basically, it pulled a Houdini, disappeared for a century, then reappeared just to remind everyone it still exists. The Tinkile lives in a restricted strip of forest in New Guinea and almost got vaulted forever until some local communities decided not to hunt and to protect it instead, and their number went back up, and now there's a decent population. But to address the kangaroo in the tree, yeah, it's not all sunshine and eucalyptus. Most tree kangaroo species are endangered or critically endangered because we're doing what humans do best, cutting down what they live in and shooting what we find cute. Logging, mining, and agriculture are wiping out their rainforests, and hunting still happens in some areas for meat or fur. It's like they've mastered living 100 feet above the ground, only for us to pull the ground right out from under them. And the thing is, they're not built to bounce back. Tree kangaroos reproduce slowly, one joey at a time, and it takes months before it even peeks out of the pouch. So every forest that disappears takes decades for them to recover from. But there's still hope, because even in the middle of all that, some tree kangaroos are proving they can bounce back. The Tinkile and Dingiso in Papua New Guinea are two of the best comeback stories out there. Their survival isn't because of luck or lab coats, it's because local communities decided these animals were worth more alive than gone. They stopped hunting, protected their forest, and somehow pulled a species off the edge of extinction. Tree kangaroos aren't just forest decorations, they're seed spreaders, branch gardeners, and the life support of the canopy. When they vanish, it's like removing the ceiling from the rainforest. Everything underneath starts to collapse. And maybe that's the lesson here. You don't have to be the fastest or strongest to survive. Sometimes it's about adapting, holding on, and climbing higher when everything else is falling apart. So while their cousins are out there boxing in the outback, these ones are chilling in the treetops. Because sometimes avoiding drama just means finding a taller tree.